For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to StratNews Global. While the nation celebrates the 50th anniversary of the 1971 war and the big military, political, diplomatic victory that India earned in creating Bangladesh in December, 10 years before that event, there was another liberation done by India in Goa in December 1961. That's the topic of this week's Simply Nitin. I'm Nitin Gokhale. So, in December 1961, to be precise, on 19th December 1961, India liberated the territory of Goa, Daman and Diu, which was under the control of the Portuguese government. Now, you might think, why was this anomaly still existing in India? After India got independence from the British in 1947, the entire Indian territory should have been part of the Indian nation. But some of these anomalies remained. For instance, there was Pondicherry, which was controlled by the French for a long time on the east coast of India. And on the west coast, you had Goa, Daman and Diu, which was under the control of the Portuguese. Now, the Portuguese were the first ones to land on the west coast of India. In fact, on the southern coast of India at Calicut, Vasco da Gama, instead of going to America, where he set out to discover America, actually came to India in 1498. And gradually the Portuguese spread their influence along the west coast. The west coast of India was one of the richest regions, with Kerala, Goa, Daman and Diu, Malabar coast, which is actually now Karnataka, or South Karnataka along the Mangalore coast. These were very rich regions in terms of fertile soil, rich in spices, and a lot of trading used to happen from the west coast of India with Africa, the Gulf countries, and then the European powers. But when the British became a dominant power, the Portuguese gradually lost control over almost all territories except Goa, Daman and Diu. Even before the British took control of the rest of the west coast, Shivaji Maharaj, who is a legendary warrior from Maharashtra, his son, Sambhaji Raje, tried to seize Goa from the Portuguese, but did not succeed, because the Marathas were mainly battling the Mughals and the Bijapur Empire. And therefore, Goa for them was a very small territory to look at or even try and seize. So, as a result, Goa, Daman and Diu remained under the Portuguese for nearly 400 years. And the Catholics, the Portuguese are by religion Catholics, practicing Catholics. The Catholics had an iron grip over Goa. In fact, it became so strong rule of the Portuguese there that the Catholic practices of converting people and making sure that the Catholic religion was spread all across Goa became a major bone of contention in the final years of the Portuguese rule in Goa, Daman and Diu. So, when India got independence in 1947, these territories still remained outside India's control. Now, India was also preoccupied, remember, with trying to gain control of Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir in 1947-48. And subsequently in 1948, Hyderabad, there was a police action, just in name police action. Actually, it was a military action to seize or defeat the Nizam of Hyderabad and merge these two princely states into the Union of India. They took up a lot of time of the Indian rulers, the new Prime Minister, the new Home Minister. Prime Minister was Jawaharlal Nehru, Home Minister was Sardar Patel, who was the architect of India's unification of more than 548 princely states being merged either by coercion, by cajoling, or simply taking over these princely states from various parts of India. Junagadh tried to resist too, and they wanted to join Pakistan. So did Hyderabad, which wanted to join Pakistan as a new independent country. So while attention was focused on these main princely states, Goa and Pondicherry remained out of the ambit and focus of the Indian government, the central government. But eventually, there was a freedom movement launched by Ram Manohar Lohia, a socialist in the Congress party, who left the Congress party in 1948. And then, of course, it petered out. But there were local Goanese who were wanting to break free of the Portuguese rule. It was stifling, it was religion based, and they wanted to be part of India. So a lot of agitation took place between 1948 and 1960. And then in 1961, there was a conference in Delhi where there was a demand for liberating Goa from the Portuguese rule. But the Portuguese tried to garner support from NATO and other European countries, saying that they have been ruling there and they need support from the European brothers. But Nehru, by that time, had got sick of using force after having used force in Hyderabad and Jammu and Kashmir. He did not want to use force, so he issued statements. He tried to cajole the Portuguese, but they didn't listen. So there was another angle of politics to it. V.K. Krishna Menon, who was the Defense Minister of India in 1960, 61, 62, was to face a by-election in Bombay in early 1962, which was proving to be a tough nut to crack for him. And he needed some kind of a diversion or a victory to show the electorate that he was a strong leader and he was a popular leader. So eventually in October and November 1961, the Indian government, at the urging of Defense Minister V.K. Krishna Menon, decided to plan an operation against the Portuguese to seize Portuguese controlled Goa back and bring it back to the Indian Union. So the planning began. It was left to the GOCNC or Southern Army Commander, Lieutenant General J.N. Chaudhary, who later went on to become the Chief of the Army Staff in 1965, under whose leadership India fought the 1965 war against Pakistan. So he was overall in charge of the operation. The Navy was brought in. INS Delhi, which was India's flagship ship, was exercising off the coast of Goa. And Canberra bombers were placed in Pune and Belgaum. And so was the 50 Para Brigade, India's only Para Brigade, which was moved to Pune as a coercive tactic. Interestingly, the man leading the 50 Para Brigade was then Brigadier Sagat Singh, later to become the famous Lieutenant General Sagat Singh, who ensured India's victory in the 1971 war 10 years later. So all of them combined and an operation was launched. It was interestingly called Operation Vijay. Remember, the operation against Pakistan in 1999 in Kargil was also called Operation Vijay. But the original Operation Vijay was to liberate Goa in December 1961. So on 18th of December, the operation was launched. There was a pincer movement of two brigades which moved into Goa, Daman and Diu. There was some resistance in Diu. There was a battle there. Some officers, 2 officers and 50 others were wounded. 2 officers were killed, in fact, Indian officers. So it wasn't totally bloodless, but it was a smooth operation. There was not much resistance from the Portuguese because they didn't have enough forces there. It was a small territory and they didn't have a professional army stationed in Goa. And of course, the nationalists who were wanting freedom for Goa were also helping the Indian army and the Indian government in giving information from inside. In fact, I do not know how many people will remember this movie of Amitabh Bachchan, Ranbir Kapoor, Zeenat Aman called Pukar. It was based loosely on the liberation of Goa in 1961. If you haven't seen it, please go and see that movie, although it wasn't a big hit or well made, but it was based on the liberation of Goa. So eventually, within 2 days, Goa was liberated. The Governor General, the Portuguese Governor General, surrendered. He unfurled a white flag atop the governor's bungalow, and India seized control of Goa. It was a seamless integration of Goa, Daman and Diu into the Indian Union, and India eventually sort of came out victorious without much resistance. there is one fallout of that victory, which perhaps played a small part in India being complacent about its military prowess. Remember, this happened just less than 1 year before the 1962 war with China, when it was launched in October 1962. Perhaps the Indian military and especially the Indian political leadership got a little complacent because of the easy victory that Indian army achieved in Goa, which wasn't much of a fight in any case because of the weak defenses or weak forces that the Portuguese had in Goa. And that perhaps played a part in being complacent and not taking the Chinese very seriously at that point in time. And we paid the price, very heavy price. Remember, the shadow of the defeat of 1962 continued for the next 30 years at least. And there is a lesson here that when you use force as a statecraft, apply force as a statecraft, it needs to be measured. The outcome needs to be measured in practical terms and see or sort of calculate what was the resistance from the opposing forces, what was the adversary's strength. All that needs to be done. There's a lesson there that happened in 1961 in Goa. Nevertheless, Goa became free and became part of the Indian Union on December 19th, 1961. Most of us won't remember, but exactly a year ago, in fact, we are speaking on 18th of December 2021. Exactly a year ago, on 19th December 2020, President Ramnath Kovind had launched a year-long celebration of Goa's independence in Panjim to culminate on 19th December, which is tomorrow, in 2021. That's the story, very little known story. There are quite a few stories about resistance, about trying to sabotage the Portuguese freedom fighters from Goa, and some of them assisted from people from Maharashtra and Belgaum in Karnataka. There are stories in local literature, local folk tales, and passed on orally to a lot of younger generation in Goa, but not very well known. So I thought I'll mark this occasion. This is the 60th year of Goa's liberation. And like the 1971 victory, it was a smooth and an easy victory, but on a very, very small scale and against a very weak opposition. That's all I have this week. So we are coming to the end of 2021. And practically, this is the last episode of Simply Nitin this year. We'll see you next year, early January 2022, with new subjects, new insights, and of course, new format maybe in months to come as we get into the new year 2022. Keep sending us feedback and suggestions, which we try and take on board. And of course, you know where to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our social media handles are very well known. If you have done it already, please spread the word with your friends and family and your colleagues and your peers and your maybe fellow students or fellow professionals, and give us the numbers that we require to take the YouTube subscription beyond 100,000, and of course start the new year 2022 with a bang. If you can do that, we'll be very grateful. Until the next time, it's goodbye.